If you procrastinate, people please, feel like an imposter, or you're your own worst critic in your mind, guess what? It is not your fault. And these are not just bad personality traits or bad habits. There's actually no other way that you could have turned out based on what you've been through. There's a hidden cause for all of these self-defeating behaviors and self-sabotage patterns. And most people have no idea about it. I'm talking about trauma. Now, here's a controversial fact. Everyone has been traumatized, but you might not feel like it if your brain did what it was supposed to do when the moment happened. So if your survival brain did what it was supposed to do when trauma occurred for you, whether it was obvious trauma or hidden trauma, you will not currently feel traumatized by that thing. Now, you may have really big, difficult trauma in your history and still feel traumatized by it. That's okay too, but you might not, and here's why. There are different kinds of trauma, number one, and number two, the brain is designed to help you move on past it as quickly as possible, thinking that you need to stay on alert, ready for the next predator that comes at you. So our brains are formed in this very primal fashion so that the survival brain part sees a threat, gets you through the threat with its high level escalation coping mechanisms, all or nothing thinking, shutting down your immune system, shutting down your digestive system, just focusing on getting to that next safe place. So if it does its job, it also helps you just shake it off and move on. But a lot of times that trauma is still somewhere in your system. So let me tell you about the 3 different kinds of trauma that I want to talk about today. And then we're going to talk about what trauma does to the brain that makes you really susceptible to procrastination, people-pleasing, imposter syndrome, negative self-talk, and other sabotages that will stop you from achieving your dreams and keep you playing small. The first type of trauma, and this is kind of what we think of, like when I thought about trauma, when someone started to talk to me about, hey, maybe you've had some trauma, I'm like, I have never been to war. I've never been in a car accident. Those were the things I thought of when I thought of trauma. That is a type of trauma. It's called big T trauma. And this is a widely used way of talking about it, big T and little t. So big T trauma, big bad things that should never happen to anyone. It's what we think of stereotypically when we think of PTSD, a war veteran coming back and having flashbacks to the battlefield. We think of, big accidents, a house fire, things like this. Abuse falls into this category as well. So when we are looking at big T trauma, a lot of us can identify, yes, I went through that, or no, I did not. But it's not the only kind of trauma. So there is now a widely accepted definition for little T trauma. These are traumas that were non-violent, but still had an emotionally disturbing effect on us. So this could be like you lost a pet and really didn't know how to cope. This could be ongoing things like bullying that were not violent, but very disturbing. And there's even a third way that I like to talk about trauma. So I've coined another term called tiny T trauma. And I needed a way to talk to my clients specifically about emotional needs that went unmet as a child, that were not abusive or abandoning or neglectful, just things that we needed that we may not have gotten all of what we needed from our parents at the time. So I call it tiny T trauma. And these are little things like maybe you saw your parents working so hard and never taking a break, and now you have trouble allowing yourself to take a break without feeling lazy. Or maybe you learned that it was your job, just sort of like in your little child survival mind, you learned that it was your job to try and make sure that your sibling ate breakfast at the right time during the day. No one really asked you to. There was no punishment if you didn't, but you kind of realized that this was something that you needed to do. So there are little things like this where our brain makes all these adjustments as we're growing up. And thank God it does, because these are the things that keep you surviving your childhood. No matter what happens, it's why children are incredibly resilient. So it's a good thing. But then when you get to adulthood, your brain is still thinking that other people hold the key to your well-being. So then when this tiny T trauma history is there, you won't feel any trauma. You won't feel traumatized, but you'll be doing things like procrastinating and not being able to stop yourself from doing it. You can't just try harder to get rid of these behaviors if they are rooted in a specific type of trauma, especially the hidden, sneaky kinds. Now, it's important to note that the message that happens when we have trauma, when we experience any kind of trauma, big T, little t, tiny t, you name it, the message that reaches our survival brain is that the world is an unsafe place. And we may not be able to keep ourselves safe with our current needs and wants and the way that we're approaching the world. So the message comes in and it begins to form. These protector parts kind of come in to your aid, and they start to say, okay, you need to work harder, you need to be better, and you need to do more. You need to make sure that no one can judge you, that nobody can think that you have less value. You need to be productive. All of these things that happen. Another tiny T trauma, and one that I experienced, is that maybe your caregivers gave you the most praise when you were performing really well or perfectly. And so you learned that in order to get that connection that I really am craving, I need to perform at this like crazy, exorbitantly perfect level. And that would have caused your brain to think things like, if I don't think I can do it perfectly, I shouldn't do it. If I don't have time to do the whole thing right now, I shouldn't start it. I can't do just little parts of it to get it done. So we end up putting things off that really matter to us. And this is what keeps us playing small. It keeps our dreams just keep getting further and further away. Our goals keep getting further away because it's too risky. Our survival brain thinks it's all on the line, because when you're a child, it is kind of all on the line. We need that attachment, that connection and affection. And if the only way we can get it is if we don't make mistakes, that's high stakes for us. We need to have food, shelter, and clothing. If those things become at risk when mom or dad is, maybe you have had a parent who was, had an addiction problem or had a rage problem. If that person is acting out in whatever behavior is not safe for the child, we learn that I need to be better. I need to fix this somehow so my needs can be met. And so then we push our real needs down because we're just looking for safety. We're just looking for the best possible chance that I can get my needs met. And so we're trying to make sure we cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and maybe we're obsessive about it. Or maybe we just gave up. Maybe you were the black sheep in your family because you're just like, it's hopeless. There's no way that I can do this. There's no way that I can accomplish this high level that I need to in order to get my needs met. So wherever you fell on that spectrum, maybe you were the responsible daughter. Maybe you were the one. Now, in the last solo episode, we talked about the family mobile, the little animals above the baby's bassinet that kind of have music and they turn around. You needed to balance your family whenever you arrived on the scene. And so you just took the role that you needed to. Maybe that was making sure mom and dad were happy, making sure the kids were quiet, making sure that you didn't make mistakes, making sure no one knew that you were having big, uncomfortable feelings because mom and dad didn't know what to do with big, uncomfortable feelings. So this leads to your protector parts kick in and they protect that the innermost true self. And that's the 3 Ps: perfectionism, procrastination, and people pleasing. That's imposter syndrome. That's negative self-talk. If you judge yourself harder than anyone else, then you won't have pain when someone else judges you and you'll perform at a better level. Your shame core would have activated during this survival mode when you were little in a way that causes you to try and be better all the time and to feel less than and not valuable when you are making mistakes or when you're not performing at a high level. So no matter what you learned as a result of the different types of trauma that you went through, to heal this, you have to go back to the roots of what caused the negative pattern of thinking. I need to be better, work harder, do more in order to have value. I need to be productive all the time in order to get what I need from this family situation. We have to bring that line of thinking up to date, because here's the good news, girl, you are an adult now. You can decide, I'm not going to abandon my needs. I am going to go after my dreams, and I am going to keep myself safe while I do those things. So this is the programming that has to be adjusted. Your survival brain still thinks, oh gosh, if we're not perfect and people don't like us, we will actually die. It's a little extreme. It's a little drama queen in there. But really, it believes it's a life or death threat if someone doesn't like you, if someone doesn't like your boundary, if someone pushes against your boundary, if someone thinks that you made a mistake, or if you actually did make a mistake. It's really hard to take responsibility for a mistake that you made when you're a perfectionist people pleaser who thinks, internally, if you're even just subconsciously thinking that you're not going to be okay if someone else is upset with you, or if someone else knows that you made a mistake. We have to update that thinking. And what that takes is two things. Short term, you need to regulate your nervous system in the moment. I love the 3S framework that I came up with for this. So it's safety, self-nurturing, and support. Those three things convey to your survival brain, we're actually not running from a wild animal right now, so it's okay to relax some of our defense systems. So that means safety is just stopping whatever the trigger is happening that's causing you to feel that stress and that survival. If you notice that you're procrastinating, this is a great way to stop it. You stop and you take your 3 deep breaths. It takes less than 30 seconds. It changes everything. Okay, so you take your 3 deep breaths, there's your safety. So you're conveying to your brain, I'm not running from a wild animal because look at how nicely and deeply I'm breathing, right? It's like, maybe it'll pay attention. Then you nurture yourself, which just means nurturing your 5 senses. You can literally just have a cup of tea. I've got my little cup of tea here with me as I'm recording today. And that hits 4 out of 5 senses. It's nurturing you just by the fact that you're holding a warm cup of tea. And then you want your safe support. So this means your bestie, your person who has got you no matter what. This is not somebody who ever makes you feel insecure. This is not somebody who ever judges you. You need green light people in your life who are absolutely going to be there and validate when you're having a big feeling. And you don't even have to connect with her about what's going on for you. You don't even have to talk about the trigger. You can literally just reach out to someone and send them something funny, or you can just connect and follow up on a conversation or on a text or something that you have with safe people. Your brain needs to know you're part of a herd. So once you send the message that I'm breathing slow, I'm taking care of my body and doing extra stuff for my 5 senses, and I'm a part of a herd, those 3 S's will help your brain feel calm in the moment. You'll buy yourself like 5 minutes of calm, okay? In the long term, to avoid having to do this 700 million times a day, and it's not a bad thing to have to do that a lot. We're all going to have triggers forever, even if we work through our trauma. But the long-term solution here is to rewire and reprogram the negative beliefs that happened as a result of the initial trauma. Even the hidden sneaky trauma resulted in negative beliefs in you. So once you can identify where it came from and slowly start to rewire those thoughts, that is the gold mine. Because then you don't have to keep fighting off procrastination I'm like doing karate chops, procrastination, people pleasing, hiya. You don't have to keep fighting those if your system feels safe enough to release those coping mechanisms. If you are being so gentle to yourself and you have so much self-compassion and you're really working to feel safe in your nervous system, your survival brain will just release all of those unhelpful coping mechanisms and all of the self-sabotage. So I hope this was really helpful for you today. Come back next time. We're going to continue talking about these important topics. I hope you're taking such good care of yourself in the meantime. And we are going to continue this conversation of loving on yourself, self-nurturing, and releasing your self-sabotage so that you can stop playing small and go get your dreams.